What's going on, everybody? It's Childish back at it again, coming at you with another Summoners War video. And in today's video, we're going to bring you guys a very special interview for you. As you guys can see in front of me here, we have the 2023 SWC America's Champion, Truewhale, that's in the house here. He's going to be joining us today to talk about the recent event, as well as some of the cool things that we got in store for you guys here in November. The World Finest here. Truewhale, my man, how are you doing today, boss?
Doing great, Childish. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you. It's only been a couple of weeks here. When it comes to these like interview stuff, I always love to kind of jump the gun with a random, off the cuff kind of question. I know people don't really like it. The how does it feel kind of question. But before you jump into this one, just hear it out. Hear it out. How does it feel? Okay, how does it feel to literally break the game with your Laura, making Comtuous want to nerf it within a matter of a week? That Laura, I tell you what, man, that was something else versus Spire.
I mean, Laura was doing it right, but so
Yeah,
was Nikki. I think the whole
yeah,
family was broken. So yeah,
yeah,
to have Contour nerf it, I think they did the right thing.
yeah. It was crazy to see, and to be fair, like those things, we got a couple of units that could happen too. But it's some of those things. Sometimes you just want to see those things. You want to see a unit pop off here and kind of change the way a match can go here. But all kidding aside, as I will get into down the road, it was not just a matter of luck, but obviously a high level of skill that got yourself the that title there of the America's Cup champion. So again, truthfully though, after 2 weeks of being able to sit here and kind of think about that, has it finally settled in? Have you been able to soak it in? The fact that you were able to get this title after trying for it for a couple of years now, being so close. SWC 2022 versus Regeki. Now you got that title. How does it feel, bud?
Yeah, I think it feels great. I won a couple of other, legend champions. I
Mm-hmm.
came runner up last year against Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, being able to win it live in person actually feels a lot more impactful for me to really appreciate this title. So
Yeah,
yeah, thank you all for the support. Yeah, I'm really glad of the outcome and hope I can take it down during World Finals.
yeah. I definitely believe that. Like I said before in our message, probably, I definitely believe that this is the year that we will be taking the title home with us to the Americas. It's rightfully due. It's rightfully due here. But yeah, like I said before, man, we're going to be talking about a couple of things with regards to leading up into this tournament as well as afterwards, as far as in addition to that, a couple of tips that I wanted to provide for the community here. But let's take a step back. Let's go down memory lane here. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I just want to know, from your perspective here, like how does one at your level, like basically go about preparing for something like this? Obviously, you've played a lot of these people over the course of the years here, but when it comes to the actual finding out the potential eight players you're going to be going up against, like how do you go about preparing for this one?
Yeah, you just really have a close circle of friends, right? That you play this game for a long time, after many years, and for me, I like to hear everyone out, kind of hear their perspective, and just put in their strategy, analyzing it whether it's going to work or not. And then for me, it's like a lot of scrimming. I mean, I do a lot of practices, usually off peak hours, right? When
Yep.
there's not too many eyes watching you.
Right.
Which probably explains why I don't really sleep a normal schedule.
Right.
I think take for example America's Cup, right? I mean, we were just talking about how other people were preparing, before their matches, throughout the event while also doing the come to us content. They're always on their phones playing the game, but I was literally the only one not playing Summoners War,
Hmm. Hmm.
while we were doing all these content sheets for come to us, right? I ended up, I think after dinner that night, I went back to the hotel room, got 2 hours of sleep the day before the fight, and just did my prep all the way to the morning, just
Yeah.
on 2 hours of sleep.
It's crazy. It's
So
crazy.
yeah, I mean, I was hella tired, right? But at the same time, I knew what I needed to do to, to get this done, right? I already had a strategy in mind to prepare for, and all I had to do was just spend, many hours, right, putting all those artifacts and runes in place on all the monsters that I was planning on my drafts for.
And now, kind of looking in from 2022 to 2023, obviously you didn't get the title that you want back then. There was a couple of things that kind of not allowed you to get to where you want to be. What was kind of the big thing for you that you worked on maybe this last year that you said like this is what I need, this is the turning point that I need to kind of move forward and take it down? I mean, obviously you guys are at such a high level, like it's simply it could be a proc here, proc there, whatever, but there's still got to be some things that after you took a look at those matches last year, you're like, you know what, I can probably, fine tune this or whatnot there. Was there any mistakes made, do you think, or was there anything that you wanted to change there?
I mean, I think let's just say one thing, procs are a thing of its own, right?
Yep.
But it should never justify whether you get out drafted or not. Okay.
Yep.
I think in those drafts that I had when I pracked a lot, I mean, I think many people can say that I think my drafts were a bit better.
Hmm.
People may feel otherwise, but I strongly believe that I had a better draft in all those games.
Yeah.
But what I did this year to really prepare, I really wanted to focus on, just my drafting capabilities. I got a lot of feedback from a lot of, people who watch my replays, and, I was picking particular units too early, right? Where, my box is so wide, I can justify pretty much any counter against my opponent.
Hmm.
So really this year's focus was really, being able to draft to the best ability I can.
Yeah, and kind of add on to that too. I wanted to, man, it might excuse me, it might be kind of the same answer here, but with a person of your box, obviously you've been widely known as the one of the best boxes of all time, right? You have, when it comes to like one of the basic strategies that I've learned coming up along the way. When they say, hey, if you're looking to get up in the high ranks and you got a limited box, focus, your best units on your best runes, and stick with one strategy. Don't try to split it too thinly, because if you do, you're just not going to get the results you want. Whereas you're literally the jack of all trades. You got the units, you got the monsters. Like, you can literally do anything you want, whenever you want. So keeping that in mind, how do you truly go about preparing versus some of these opponents who you've seen their strengths, you've seen some of their weaknesses? Do you kind of build your strategy to kind of counter what they're bringing? Do you just like say, forget them, I focus on what I can control and just bring it to them, take it to them?
I think honestly, right, just being able to identify when to use turn one teams,
Sure.
versus when you can play a slow comp. Like, I think one good demonstration against my finals match with Big V, right? I played a lot of turn one, but when I was up 2 games to 1, I threw him a curveball trying to go with a slow team, right?
Right.
And primarily there's reasons behind that, because I didn't want to give him enough time to figure out my strategy. But at the same time, being able to draft a strong turn two comp, right? To be able to get rid of his sustain and still, kill his team. But unfortunately, it didn't happen, which is fine. I think going back to the game five, and my original strategy was to outspeed him. It ended up working in my favor anyway. So I'm really happy with that results there.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if I may, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like last year in 2022, as I was reviewing some of the matches, it seemed like even though you could still play both kind of strategies, you were kind of leaning towards a little bit more turn two kind of comps. Whereas this time around, you definitely were a lot more aggressive, a lot more confident with your turn one comps, cleaves, speeds, and whatnot here. Is that a fair assessment to say that you feel pretty comfortable on both levels now?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, the meta did slightly change, since
Sure.
since last year, right? I guess with the most recent balance patch, yes, it was in my favor. I'm not gonna lie, right?
Right.
But I mean, who wouldn't want to use their LDs if they've been sitting in the
Mm-hmm.
box for so many years, right? And finally get a chance to use it.
Yep.
I basically took advantage of it, right? And use it to my best ability. Not to say that, every Laura Wedget player is gonna, be able to accomplish what I could. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we had Thompson, we had Fallen Flower, that they both had Laura Wedget, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just, being able to really plan in advance, right? The right teams to use in specific drafts to their full potential. And that's what I did.
Yep, you definitely did there, and I like kind of when you explained that answer to me. There was this level of confidence, this confidence that I've been talking about to various people on a previous video that I made here. That's one of the things that I've just kind of realized more so than any. Seeing you this year versus the previous year, that level of confidence, which of course you showed everybody at the America's Cup, talking about farming the ladder versus people farming. Dude, I mean, it's just so up there, and I mean, how do I say how do I even word that there? Like, what happened in the last like 6 to 12 months? Obviously, you've been taking a lot of titles. What happened in the last 6 to 12 months that really just said, you know what, like, I'm the king. There's everybody else. Like, this is my show. Like, what do you like? Who does that? How can you do that?
Yeah, I can explain that, right?
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, I can really appreciate the just a simple buff, right? Like we had recently, right? How much impact it can have
yeah.
on a player. But being able, to understand the full potential of that buff, right? And just
Mhm.
putting your mind into it in terms of how you can really take advantage of of the buff, and being able to just simply outdraft other people.
Mhm.
I mean, I fought so many people. I even talked to so many competitors here. How everyone seemed to have their own wedge tech, whatever they want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know what that is for them. I thought the pre-ban was their tech,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, no one's still been able to answer what a wedge tech is to me. And
Yeah.
yes, we all want to say wedge is the one that carried me to victory, but at the same time, you don't forget you had the option to ban it too,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
didn't ban it,
Yeah.
so what do you want me to do,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
What do you want me to do?
It's like Toretto said in the Fast Food. It doesn't matter if you win by a minute or by a mile. Winning's winning. You do what you got to do, son. You
When
get
is
that
winning?
dub. Winning's winning. That's what it is, right? If it's units, runes, visa, don't matter. I won. You lost. That's it. It don't matter. But no, seriously.
Exactly.
On the level of confidence, one of the things that a lot of people may not know, that's kind of right there with you, is the level of humility and humility. And you are an extremely humble person, and you've been one of those people out there that, even though you know your level, you know your strengths and whatnot, you've always kind of rooted for the other person, like Raigeki or whatnot. Like, vote for him, do that, like, easy to do it. You're a really, really good guy in that. And so, keeping that in mind, one of the things that I love to do is to connect with the highest of the highest level players and just kind of get their insight on the game at a basic level. Because as you might be surprised, for all those people out there watching, these guys started on the bottom like we did. So, obviously there was, like I said before, there was some turning points that you've learned along the way to kind of get yourself up into the levels. Can you break it down, maybe like one or two things that you really do believe that, any beginner should really consider, should think about when it comes to the overall strategy in RTA?
Yeah, I think as a beginner, right, definitely don't focus all your efforts in just summoning monsters, okay, or LDs, right? I think really focusing around, just farming artifacts and runes. They go a long way. The reason I say that is last year I got a lot of heat for, we should nerf Nobanic, for example, right? Because he
Right.
was always just one shot in monsters after a proc or so, and mine just did a lot of damage, right? But don't forget, Dominant was nerfed,
Right.
before those matches.
Mhm.
Mine just still decided to wreck everyone, right? Because of just the way it's built. So really, I think having those efficient sets and for runes and artifacts, right, will go a long way on any monster
Right.
that you draft to be able to bring out its true potential.
Yeah, and then to kind of add on to that, you made a comment about the artifacts. I feel like that's one of the most, still to this day, for the lower levels, not the upper levels, but the lower levels, it's one of the most undervalued things that people neglect to farm. At your specific level, like, there's only so much you could do to a rune to cap off its efficiency. Like, right now, do you even do any rune farming? Is it just merely
Well,
artifacts? Yeah.
it's just merely artifacts, right? I try to improve them as much I can. Why? Because it's probably the one thing you can't buy in the game.
Right.
But at the same time, there are many opportunities right now to try to help improve that. Improve those stats. There's the ancient reshop, a refresh shop that you can do every month, right, or every
Hmm.
15 days after TOA. So that's helped out a lot because you never know, you can get lucky and just find the perfect artifact in those refreshes. But really, that's really all I focus on right now is it's around artifacts,
Good.
because I know I can use a lot more improvements on there.
I'm glad that you say that, because that's my next question here. When it comes to artifacts, there's a lot of different various, primary, secondary subsets that we kind of focus on here. Not so much the primary, but most of the secondary here. In your humble opinion, at your level, what are some of the most important stacks? I mean, everybody knows about the additional damage and whatnot, but what are some of the ones that maybe they kind of undervalue? Like, you know what, you should, if you get this artifact with this stat, like, roll it out, consider it, because this might be beneficial, like, in our meta right now.
Sure, I think right now for RTA it's still additional stats that I focus on a day-to-day
Mhm.
base. Everything else like bomb damage and all that, like I don't really focus too much on it because I don't really use any bombers either,
Sure.
right? But yeah, right now I still have to agree that it's still additional damage stats,
Okay.
as
And
many lines as you can get.
with the shift, I think it was either last season or 2 seasons ago, kind of making it more bruiserous kind of meta here, kind of favoring the turn two players. Was there any focus on, like, considering the value of damage reduction when it comes to RTA two, or is it just sheerly like additional damage?
For me, it was purely additional damage.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of talks around accuracy and all that, and I'm not a strong believer in those stats, to be honest.
Right.
But for me, yeah, it's just focus on additional damages.
Okay. Okay. And then, in addition to the beginner's tips question that we asked you, as well as far as a common mistake goes, obviously you talked about like the drafting aspect of it. Now, what's like one of the biggest common mistakes that people generally make getting into RTA?
I think showing your true ace right early in the draft,
Oh yeah, I like
that
that.
will give the opponent, yeah, to that will give the opponent enough time to be able to counter in the in the second or third round pick.
All right, that's I think that's one of the first things that I learned too when I got serious about RTA is that that first pick or first two picks they should not be they should be strong. They should be part of that core, but they should not define the way that you go about your setup. Right? If
Yep.
they can literally know what you do from one pick here, then we got they're gonna make it a little bit easier for you to draft against. So yeah, that's crazy here. So in addition to the actual just playing side of RTA here, I want to focus on the mental aspect because you, above all, have one of the hardest things to do with, right? You're going to be going here in less than 6 weeks over to Thailand here in front of all these lights, in front of all these people to get yourself that World Finals champion title and, of course, $100,000 here. Like, what does this do for you mentally? Like, how do you mentally prepare for something of this magnitude? I mean, this is like, I don't know I don't know how people do it.
Um, I would say get a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking for myself going to Thailand, right? 'Cause
Right.
it's not a really short trip for me to get there.
Yeah.
But just learning from my mistakes last year in Korea, like clearly, sleep was my number one enemy. I just didn't sleep at all pretty much while I was there. In addition to all the content creation we had to do for
Mhm.
come to us, right, leading up to the finals. By the time I remember last year when I was on the stage with was it second baby or Duchan?
Mhm.
After the first match when I won that, like I just closed my eyes on stage. I just wanted to sleep.
Right.
I
Right.
just
Good
couldn't
luck.
focus it. Like my body was just shutting down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be sure this year I'll be well rested. So really I can, just stay awake during the match and be able to focus this time and do better.
Good. And kind of leading into that here, as we go into these next couple of weeks here, you made a comment earlier in the interview about some of the things that you do offside to like to practice and get your matches in so that people don't know kind of what you're doing here. Do you have any? And I think actually this in LA as well. Do you actually connect with anybody? I mean, like outside, like guildmates or good friends or whatnot that you like play on the side to discuss strategy versus some of the opponents that are probably going to be in the finals here? Like, do you guys go back and forth with regards to strategies? Kind of have like a team to kind of get you prepared for that, or no?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a team, but just maybe just a group of friends, right? That are
Sure.
really just RTA focused, kind of get their perspective. And it's just interesting hearing everyone's approach, right? To draft in and how they would actually play the match.
Hmm.
But for me, I'm the type of guy who just likes to see all options, right? If someone thinks they could do better, I want you to show me then,
That's
right?
it.
And prove
That's
to me
it.
that it is better, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've seen a lot of comments in chat, like, why'd you lose the big V, during prelims? And I'm like, my response is always, hey, if you could do better, show me,
Yeah.
right? So to this day, I don't think anyone's shown me yet.
Yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say, if over the years, if anybody has gotten the best of you in a match, you've kind of gotten your revenge, and able to, like I said, kind of move on, and obviously your rank today shows. So, speaking of revenge, I gotta bring it up here. I mean, this is like so crazy not to think about it. Duchan, right? The gentleman that
Yeah.
got you last year in 2022. There's got to be some level of revenge. She's like, man, I hope I get up in this guy because I'm about to, I want to show this cat like what's up this year. Like, I want my revenge on him. Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm not thinking about that at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually talked to Duchan quite a bit, especially with his father, right? Just off, was it Crackle Talk or whatever?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have a few friends over at Korea that I keep in touch with, within the game, and we're just both very competitive, right? So like, if a rematch happens, that would be great. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with that as well too.
Mhm.
So we all know how rematches end up for me. So
Right, right, right.
hopefully,
There it
if we
is.
do get another one.
There it is. There it is.
If we
So
get another one, I'll have fun with it.
the good thing about this talking about you in this interview is like, you always throw something that makes me stop everything that I have on paper to talk about. I'm like, I want to get into that because to me, I'm a content creator. I'm a influencer, right? In quotes, but I'm also a fan, right? So my next question to you is, over the years you've been at these various events, you met a lot of the, uh, you know, uh, competitors or whatnot here. Can you like give us a little insight, like a little behind the scenes story on one of the competitors? Maybe something that would surprise somebody about like a competitor. Like, oh, I met this guy, and you might think he's like this, but he's actually like that. He's really fun to be. What do you give us a little inside scoop on somebody that you met over the years?
Interesting. I mean, I spent a lot of time this year with Spyrus. Okay,
Sorry.
even when we first filmed the America's hype up video with the profile videos. So I spent a lot of time there. We spent a lot of time together as well, leading up to our match, right? And I mean, with Spires, I mean, he's a strong competitor. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're still kind of beating ourselves. The fact that that Evan had to pick us both, right, to fight each
Right.
other in our first match when we were kind of hoping that we would both be the finalists, right, on
Mhm.
other each other sides of bracket. But yeah, knowing that we were fighting each other, I mean, we still hung out. We went to the gym together. We went for coffee runs in the morning, right? While we were down there in LA. But I also noticed that when we're talking about the game together, right? He seemed a bit confident, which I
Yeah.
respect. Okay, I respect,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what his approach was, because yeah, I kind of already knew, what some of the challenges he would face, if he was going to prepare to fight in me. Let's face it, I'm not his average opponent. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But only because of the what I have in the box, right? My and the rune sets that I have. I think the because of my monster box, it makes it very challenging for him to be able to prep for me. But he was still confident, and I respect that. So, I think on the day of the match, we had to do a coin flip who gets first pick. Um, I told him, hey, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to let you decide if you want to pick first or not. And he ended up picking first. So, and then we went ahead and just went through the matches, and the results are results.
You know, um, I would have got to touch into that. The first pick versus second pick. I mean, I know it sounds kind of scary to the average, or kind of sounds kind of silly to the average person, but how much of an advantage, in your humble opinion, do you feel is first pick? Like as far as like the way how it influences your guys' draft moving on.
I think it depends on the opponent, to be
Sure.
honest.
Okay.
I think for me, when I had prepared for Spyrus, my only concern, and I shared this with him as well too. My only concern with him is whether or not I think he can outspeed me or not. Right. I took a gamble. I didn't think he could
Mhm.
in any speed lead that he picked. I didn't think he could. So I was confident to let him have a first pick if he wanted it.
That is
But
super
for
cool.
someone like Big B, obviously, I really wanted the first pick, and I think luck was on my side that day. Where when we did do the coin flip, I got my first pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like when I think about some of these tournaments and having the initial parts being like best of three, having the first pick is crucial because if you do get the jump on them, and maybe you don't get that second like 2-0 win, you can kind of go back to the same way you were looking at the guy should have win here, go back to the same pre-draft, pre-bans and stuff like that, and go with the flow and see if he makes any adjustment on side. So yeah, I was curious about that to see how much that influences because me personally, like I kind of like but I mean, I like both of them, but the for the first pick players, I like having that opportunity to pick two units that really like throws them off. You can pick a unit at the end that's like fiery or something like that to force them to just auto ban it so you keep your four, but to throw in two units versus one, if you really want to like give them a reason to like throw them off guard, I kind of like that as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with Sparus too, like it's also important to know. And again, I was still pretty shocked about Game Three, like having to rerun that draft. I honestly thought he would change it up, right? So, the fact that he ran it the same, like I was pretty confident that the outcome would be the same. So,
right.
and it was.
Yeah, it was. Now, now
Yeah.
even though we put Spires on blast, I got to put you on blast one time here, one time, okay? When it comes to talking about the players, right? I want you to dig deep into yourself and tell these people out there what's one thing that would surprise them. That maybe something that somebody that they don't know about you, like give them like what something a little surprising.
I mean, for me, Summoner's War is not everything. Is what I
What?
can tell them. So,
That's crazy because you would think
yeah.
when you're playing at that kind of level for that kind of money, right? That's like you gotta kind of make it your number one. But you've been able to, like I said, you said it earlier. You weren't like hyper focused on matches over and over with your head down here. You took a break. You were just chilling, whatnot here up until the very end when you did the matches here. So yeah, I guess that kind of
Yeah.
goes to show there's a little bit of balance when it comes to this, and I feel like you have to have that when you're playing at the level that you do. So respect to you for
No,
just keeping
agreed,
it
agreed.
honest. Yeah.
And the one thing I could say is, I mean, I think this time around at America's Cup, right? I think one of the things that Comtois encouraged us was try to trash talk as much we could.
Oh yeah.
So all I'm gonna say is, if you're gonna trash talk, just make sure you have the results to back it up.
That's right. That's right. There it is. You heard it here first. He's bringing it. He's bringing the heat once again here in a couple of weeks. So we got going on here. 2023 World Finals going to be going down here in Thailand. Oh man, I tell you what, I can't wait to. I can't wait to see that, man. It's going to be an absolute blast. Of course, we have still yet, I believe, the Europe Cup going on this weekend, as well as the APEC Cup in a couple of weeks here. Do you have any, personal favorites from both the Europe side and the APEC Cup side that you would like to see moving on to the finals?
So I know one of my guilty is in F, right? He's playing in the Euro Cup, so
Okay.
I will be rooting for him. Being in the same part of the guild. But I also think he, is a very strong drafter as well too. So I'd love to see him go far this year. Um, I think Pink Royd. I expect him also to be in the finals. Only because I think, going back to revenge, I think he's one of the persons I haven't gotten revenge from the
Right.
Legend tournament.
Right.
So that would be one target, right?
Right. Right.
Then from the APAC side, I think I would have to say both. Depending on their brackets, right? I don't think we know what they are yet.
Nope.
But I'd love to get. I would like to see Diligent and Duchan there as well too.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Definitely a big fan of both of them. Diligent, I've been watching for years. I got a chance to meet him in Korea in 2018 here. Super cool guy. Yeah, obviously it's hard to communicate with him, but super chill. He knew me. I'm like, you know me? I'm like, I know you. I've been watching your stuff. You're like, I'm sitting here starstruck, but yeah, no, that was a great experience. So yeah, dude, thank you so much for sharing once again. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the video here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, kind of the thing that leads up to the match here, and of course, share that little segment here for the people out there in the community that are looking to come up in the game when it comes to RTA. Thank you once again so much for coming on board and doing this interview with me, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Anytime, Childish.
All righty, guys. Well, again, if you guys are watching here, do me a favor, leave a comment in the comment section down below if there's any additional question that you have for Truewhale. I'll definitely be sending this video link to him so he can kind of check out the comments out and maybe try to answer some of your questions as well in his spare time. But I will say this to give him a little bit of a breather here. He is preparing for the 2023 SWC Worlds Finals here. It's going to be going down in less than 5 weeks. So give him a little bit of a minute. Okay. He will get to you as soon as he can. Right. Thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys all in the next one. Take care.